It is officially November, and you know what that means in the college football streets. Only 4 full slates left, and the college football playoff is right around the corner. We got to take advantage of every opportunity to cash off one of the best sports in all of the world. College football, week 11, best bets episode happening right now. Welcome, football fans, to another edition of the D-Gen Docs here. It is college football, week 11, best bets and picks episode. What is up, folks? I'm one of your hosts here at the D-Gen Doc, but more importantly, I'm joined by my brother in degeneracy, Mr. Derek Bennett, a.k.a. Professor Locks. How we doing tonight, brother?
Dude, it's already November. This is insane. We got
I don't know
4 weeks left.
I feel like just yesterday we were like, man,
We're
it's
just
August, it's college
I was
football.
gonna say we were just doing our
excited.
preview episode like 2-3 months ago. It's been a wild ride.
It feels like 2 days ago. Man,
Yeah.
this has been an awesome college football season. A lot of crazy stuff. Parity. We're going to talk about some of that, actually getting into it. But hey, let's just start here. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. Cheers to you. Thanks for tagging along. We hope you stick around because this is the college football week 11 best bets. Look, folks, this is how we do it over here. And of course, for everyone who's been coming back every week, you guys are the real MVPs. We appreciate you. Look, it is the college football six-pack. And when you hear about six-packs in college, I know what you're typically thinking about. Probably some Natty Light, Busch Light, Keystone, something that is very close to water. But no, we are talking about our 6 favorite games from a betting perspective. So we're going to break down 6 games that we feel have the best value, games we feel the best about from a betting angle from this college football week 11 slate. Yes, that will include some top 25 matchups, some rivalry games, and some games may not be on your radar, but is a great way to make some money. So we are going to break down those 6 games. Then we're going to do our best bets, where every bet on this episode is assumed to be 1 unit, except for the lock, which is 2 units. We'll do a money line dog, a parlay, and a teaser. And we're going to talk some of the biggest news. We got another major head coach firing. And just this episode, we are going to premiere our college football predictions, where Derek and I talk about the 12 teams we think are going to make the college football playoff at this point, and if there's any value in the betting market. So stay tuned. We got a jam-packed show. And the first thing's up. Another week, another major head coach in college football is canned. It was James Franklin, then Billy Napier, then Brian Kelly, and now Mr. Hugh Freeze, another coach with a questionable past, who is now out the door, and he's gone again. Auburn, a little bit of karma, kind of making up rumors to get Brian Harsin out of there, and now you hire a scumbag in Hugh Freeze, and he sucks. And Auburn, in our news, they cashed their under 7.5 that we gave out in the beginning of the season, a nice plus 135. So cash that for us. But I want to get your reaction. Auburn, Hugh Freeze is out of there, and they're kind of in a situation where a team that was competing for SEC championships and national titles, 10, 15 years ago, a little bit lost recently in this past decade or so. What do you think about this? Was it the right decision? Where do you think Auburn should go from here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the right decision. I mean, I'll say historically, and I don't even know if I should say perennial powerhouse down there in the SEC, because they're kind of give and take, but they should be better than their 2-6 record or whatever they are at this point. I don't know.
Right. I think they're like 3, and they might have 3 wins. But yeah, I mean, hey, they're already cast their under on the year, so that tells you they're not doing
right. I mean, they're not a good football team, and I think it's just one of those things that, like, other teams are already making moves down there in the SEC to try to get the next guy, whether it's LSU or your Gators. Auburn's just the next one in line there.
4-5, so a little bit better, but 1-5 in the SEC. They finally got a win last week against Arkansas, but to lose at home to Kentucky, who was winless in the SEC. that is not going to cut it. And that was with the different quarterback, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they can lure in down there to take Hugh Freeze's spot, because there's so many jobs open right now, and quite a few that I would consider better jobs than Auburn at this point.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe it might be worth an episode in the offseason trying to figure out where everyone's going to go. It's going to be an absolutely insane coaching cycle. I feel like last offseason, a lot of people were holding on to figure out what the revenue sharing is going to be and what this is going to look like. But now coaches are getting fired left and right. A lot of them deservingly so. A lot of them, some of them a little too early. But this is, it's going to be a crazy cycle. And another team that Florida has to compete with, unfortunately. Hands. And speaking of Florida, and just as a whole, I am not going to go on a crazy rant, but obviously, yes, I'm a Florida fan first, then Pitt, and then Army. Because when you're a nerd, the good thing about being a nerd is you go to a lot of schools and you party. And you so at least you get some rooting interest there. So, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, although Florida did cover, they
barely.
Yeah, well, we can talk about whether Stockton should have scored or not. But
should have punched it in.
Man, what some terrible calls. Not only did they, they called the fumble on the field with Gunnar Stockton, then they overturned and said incomplete. And then really the catch that they deemed not a catch. I mean, I don't know. That's
the one that gets me. As far as the fumble incompletion thing, like ball still moved forward. That I don't know how you can deem that incomplete.
Look. So it's not going to be just a Florida fan talking about blah, 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 although Georgia already got an SEC official fired for the way Auburn game was officiated, because that was insanely biased. So pretty suspicious that Georgia's getting all these calls. This is what I'm going to call for. More from a college football take as a whole, because, again, people don't come on here to hear me bitch and moan about Florida. Look, I think that replay, either two things need to happen. And I was someone who was all for replay when it was for clear and obvious mistakes, right? When it was first introduced, it was said to fix egregious things like that pass interference that was not called in the playoff game with the Rams, which I don't even think you could review even under the current review rules, technically. But, like stuff like that, though, like very clear catches that are not catches, whatever it may be, right? So that's what it was introduced to us. Now it has become so weird where we don't know, like, are they going to review everything? Like, is that reviewable? Are they going to review it? It's like stuff that we're like, why aren't they reviewing it? They let go. And then other stuff, it's like, are you serious? We're talking about like splitting micro hairs now and overturning a call on the field while we're going frame by frame, right? So I think either two things need to happen. One, it needs to be completely transparent like the ACC has done, which if you've watched the ACC with the ACC Command Center, that's actually a pretty cool experience. You hear what they're debating. Hey, we have clear picture here. We don't there, right? Because as fans, it gets a little suspicious when one team, cough, cough, Georgia, is getting the benefit of the doubt, or the bigger schools, right? The ones that have a better shot at the college football playoff. It's a little bit interesting to hear so we either need transparency or I want it out. Because right now, to me, replay has gone from fixing obvious and clear mistakes to we have a way now to manipulate games in a sense to help some teams out that we want to help out. And again, that's getting into a little bit of the tinfoil hat, but it isn't, I think that it's not coincidence that the bigger names, the chances that have a better shot to represent the conference in the college football playoff are getting the benefit of the doubt. So I'm either calling for transparency or just get it out and go with what the official calls on the field.
I think obviously the ACC's already gone this way, but I think the full transparency idea is awesome because, one, like you said, it's a great experience to kind of get inside an official's mind and see what they're actually discussing, see what views that they're seeing. Because I was watching the going back to the NFL, the Chiefs and Bills game, and there was an obviously tipped pass by Patrick Mahomes that they called intentional grounding. Well, it's a pass. You can't have intentional grounding. So, like in that situation, we have officials gathering together. It takes like 20 seconds for somebody up in the booth to jump on there, take a couple looks. Yep, ball's tipped. Takes a completely different trajectory. Let's overturn this call.
Right.
pretty clear and obvious, right? With some of those things like the catch that you're talking about, I thought that was pretty clear and obvious. The other one, like I said, I still would have probably considered that incomplete as an unbiased
Right.
fan, but just because
I
ball
just think
still goes forward as arm is coming
right.
forward.
Okay.
But
Yes.
at the same time, like you were saying, I think getting that transparency aspect would clear a lot of these debates up.
Yeah, and I think from a Florida fan perspective, like if they say, okay, let's say for example, this happened. I know it did not, but
Yep.
Gunnar Stockton, they called it a fumble on the field. We don't have enough evidence to overturn because we can't 1,000% say,
Yep.
it stays a fumble, whatever. And then come later in the game, the Florida catch happens. I'm sure I'd still be upset, but they used the same reasoning. We
Right.
can't 1,000% say, although it may
Yep.
look like he caught it, call on the
Yep.
field overrules, not a catch.
Yep.
Much more reasonable than we're going to split micro hairs, change the call on the field, say it was incomplete, and then now in the same exact game say we don't have enough evidence to overturn.
Sure.
But that's the thing. We don't even know what they exactly said because all they said was the call was upheld, and we don't know, was it like, were they saying 100%? They've changed the verbiage. So transparency, I think, realistically, is kind of where it'd be nice to go. But all right, enough of that moaning, because I know maybe some of you are interested in that if you care about college football as a whole. Maybe you just want to get to the pick. So we will do. Look, last week, not our best week.
No.
Probably actually the worst week for the show.
Yes.
Not the best.
Probably in the history of our show. Just
yeah.
period.
So apologize for
College
that.
football, NFL, everything.
We will take ownership there. But the situation was, typically when we agree this year, it's been pretty darn good. We've been hitting at a decent rate. And last week, if we agree, that was a test sign. It wasn't even like a miss. I mean, I think we were on Memphis. We were on Rice and Wake.
Yes.
I think Memphis was
Not
up like
close.
28 zip in the first quarter, before half. And then FSU just absolutely routed Wake. I don't know where that came from. So that was not a great sign. However, like we did say, 3 of our futures we gave out in the off season, right before the season when we did our episode. You can go back and check that out. 3 of them came through in our Panthers, catching that over 6.5 on a 5-game winning streak at plus 115. That Auburn under 7.5 at plus 135. That came through. And Southern Miss over 5.5 wins. They have 6 wins at this point. That came through as well. So hopefully, like it did for us, those cashes help to balance out the losses this week. So let's now.
Hey, college football playoff committee is announcing their rankings for the first time this evening, Tuesday the 4th, when we're recording this.
Yeah, I think a little bit. A couple hours from now or something, right?
We tried to get in the minds of these college football committee members and do a little bit of rankings our own, but I think we're going to do it a little bit differently. At least how I did it was how I project things to be come playoff time, not right now. And I think you did the same, right?
Yes. That is what we were going to try to do. Derek threw this idea out, and I thought it was a good idea as far as, hey, what right now, if you had to pick the 12 teams in the college football playoff, what would they be? So we went ahead and did that. I would pay less attention to the actual rankings slots because that's like extremely difficult to try to figure out. But really, it's just what 12 teams do we think are going to make it? In a couple weeks, we can start talking about the buys. I think we probably have a decent idea of what the buys are. But yeah, let's just go ahead and throw it up here and start talking about it. So the first 4 or 5, the first 5 for us are the same in some type of combination of Indiana, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Alabama, and Ole Miss. I think those are the kind of, don't want to say locks to curse any of these.
The upper echelon right now.
But yes, and do you want to talk about, let's throw out like the 4 teams you would think are the ones that would get buys at this point.
Yeah, so I expect OSU to go through unscathed. They haven't even touched third gear yet to this point. So I think OSU gets in by winning the Big Ten. I also think that Bama wins the SEC. So I have them in at number 2. And then I have Indiana there at number 3, losing to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I think they slide in there. And then Ole Miss, Texas A&M. I kind of went back and forth on, but I do think the Texas A&M actually ends up in the SEC championship. Doesn't look great, and Ole Miss ends up jumping them just because their schedule looks really nice going down the stretch here, and I would not be surprised if your boy Lane Train runs it up on some teams and makes Ole Miss look really good going into the college football playoff and ends up in that 4 spot.
Well, I think that I would say they got a tough game this week against the Citadel. But no, so I would agree with you on almost everything except I will put Texas A&M over Ole Miss to get that spot. I do think they are undefeated, and I do think it's either they get one loss at Texas at the final game of the season, or they lose to Alabama in the SEC championship. I think they get one loss and they still get the 4 slot. I think that Ole Miss actually drops a game either in the Egg Bowl or against the Florida Gators in that game in the next 2 weeks. So I do think Ole Miss definitely makes it. I think because at this point they can afford another loss, and they play Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State. Doubt. So they're either going 3-0 or 2-1. I just think they go 2-1, and they're at 10-2, and they're clearly in, but they do not get a bye there. So that's the only difference for me. Why I was talking there. Now, looking at the betting markets, we don't have to talk about these teams. Indiana and Ohio State aren't even on the board because they're such a lock. Essentially, they'd have to literally lose out to not make it. Alabama's minus 1,000, Ole Miss minus 900, and Texas A&M is off the board as well. So that kind of gives you an idea. Hey, those teams are a bit of the locks there. Now, that's where we start to have a little bit of disagreement. So why don't you read off, why don't you go 6 through 8 there, talk about some of your heavy hitters, and then I'll talk about where we differ.
Yeah, so I think Texas Tech ends up winning the Big 12 starting this week. They got a big one, so we'll stay tuned. We'll probably talk about that game here in a little bit. But Texas Tech, I think, ends up winning the Big 12 and ends up in that 6th spot. Oregon, I think, goes unscathed the rest of the season, but they already have 2 losses in the Big 10. So I don't think that they're necessarily going to move a whole lot. Their schedule doesn't have much left on the schedule. And I just think that they're going to end up kind of where they are right now. And then Notre Dame has slowly been creeping back into consideration as a whole. And again, they don't have a ton left on their schedule, but I think they're just going to keep winning at the end of the day.
Yeah. No. So definitely Texas Tech. I'm right there with you. Minus 300, obviously chalk. We'll talk because we're going to talk that BYU Texas Tech game in a second here. But I'm going to say that I have BYU. That probably gives you a hint at where I'm going in this one. But I just think BYU is going to enter with one loss and not 2. I think Texas Tech is going to have 2 losses, but I do think Texas Tech makes it. Oregon and Notre Dame. This is the shockers for me that don't make it. Is as you can tell, Oregon plays Iowa this week, a game we will talk about. 7 top 10 teams since 2000 have entered Kinnick Stadium, and 7 of them have lost. Well, not 7 for 7, but they've taken down 7 teams. I read that terribly. But it is a place where top 10 teams go to die. And Notre Dame, well, I've got the Pitt Panthers in there, and they play in 2 weeks. Notre Dame's got Navy, and then they've got Pitt, and then they've got a bunch of nothing. And I think that Notre Dame is at a situation where I'm not as worried about the Navy game, but they can't lose another game. They've already lost 2. So if they lose one more game, I think they're out. So obviously, look, that is going to be some of my upsets here as we talk later. But I've got Pitt, which Pitt, I think right now to make the college football playoff is 14-1. Similar to their ACC price, but essentially, I'll kind of talk the ACC picture of how I got there. But that's where Notre Dame and Oregon, I have them both losing in the next 2 weeks. So that's where they're not there for me. But I would say from the betting perspective, you are definitely, look, Oregon is minus 350, Tech is minus 300, Notre Dame minus 370. So I'm with you on Tech. I'm not with you on Oregon and Notre Dame. But Georgia Tech, we are aligned there. We'll talk ACC really quick to just get that one kind of not over with, but that's where Pitt comes into the picture. So Georgia Tech, plays. Let me pull up their schedule exactly, but the ACC picture is going to look like Pitt and Georgia Tech play each other in a couple weeks here. So the situation that I think unfolds is that Pitt continues and goes on a run. Pitt plays at Pitt. Notre Dame has to come up there after playing Navy. Pitt's coming off a bye. I think Pitt gets the job done there. And I also think that Pitt actually beats Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech beats Georgia at the end of the year. So I think Georgia Tech has 2 losses. They're 10-2 with losses to NC State and Pitt. They are not in the ACC championship game, but they beat Georgia at the end of the year to knock Georgia out of the playoffs. They go to the playoffs, and then Pitt wins the ACC. And that is the way that essentially I would have. Now, obviously, look, that is a bit of a long shot. Georgia Tech's plus 250. They're just below Louisville at plus 220 for ACC, but the ACC is an absolute mess. You got Duke at plus 320. You got Miami at plus 330, who Pitt also will play in Pitt at the end of the year when it's going to be a little bit colder for some of those Miami kids. Virginia at 4-1, and Pitt is the underdog because essentially Pitt's got 2 paths. They either win out or they lose to Notre Dame and they win the ACC. Right. So that's kind of the way it's got to go for them with already having the 1 loss. So that's obviously my long shot there with the ACC. And then BYU, I think, represents the Big 12, but Texas Tech gets in there as well, and as well as Utah. I do think the Big 12 can have 3 teams because Utah, at this point, if you look at their schedule, they have let me just pull up their schedule here. But essentially, they have 3 teams that they're going to be heavy favorites against. So, and they've only lost 2 games. So that's where I'm thinking that, obviously that's a little bit of the controversy is will they let the Big 12 have 3 teams? But I think that some of these other conferences are going to cannibalize each other a little bit more than people think, particularly the Big 10 and the SEC. So they have Baylor versus K-State and at Kansas. I would favor them in all of them. They'd be 10-2. They're already ranked, I think, number 15 or 16. I think it'd be hard to keep Utah out. So I guess BYU would be the one that, but BYU already beat Utah. And if they beat Texas Tech this week, that's where the Big 12 and the ACC are really where this gets haywire.
It's a little dicey. Yeah, no. To round out my last 3 there, I have Texas coming back and making it into the playoff. Okay. I do think they take down Georgia here in a couple of weeks. That boosts their stock a little bit. And then Georgia, like you said, they could end up losing to Georgia Tech at the end of the season as well. So I think probably my biggest surprise was Georgia getting left out. And I mean, they've been playing with their food quite a bit over the last few weeks. And Gunnar Stockton sometimes looks like a guy, but doesn't most of the time. So I think that's probably the big one. But I think BYU manages to get back into the playoff hunt after probably taking an L to Texas Tech. Obviously, I took Texas Tech in our preview to make the college football playoff. So big hopes for them. And then Memphis, I think, does make it in as a non-Power 4.
That group of 5
options. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think Georgia probably ends up in that 12 spot from either losing to Texas or Georgia Tech. My guess is to Texas at home. Then, just because of the way that things are set up, Memphis slides in ahead of Georgia.
Yeah, well, you got to have the group of 5 there. So, which I do like. I think that should be there. So, looking at this, Texas 2-1 to make the playoff right now for you. So you think they beat Georgia? So they have 2 losses. You think they beat Georgia and Texas A&M at the end of the year?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that would be the way. So that's what they need to do to get done. They do play, I think, they play in
Actually,
Athens.
To be honest, I completely forgot that they play Texas A&M at the end of the year. So that would probably slide Texas A&M down a slot, maybe 2. So just slide them down to maybe 7, Texas Tech and Oregon up.
Yeah, because I think
this is where this exercise is hard. I was putting graphics together while I was doing this, and I didn't check out all all of the team schedules.
Well,
But
yeah, I mean, as much as we want to make fun of the committee, like this is difficult, especially right now. They're obviously just going to take the name brands and probably just to put their rankings and just slap them in there to make it easy on themselves. But we're actually trying to figure out who are the 12 teams going to be, because from a betting perspective, that's what you're trying to do, is extract some value there. So, I mean, essentially, Texas is plus 200 to make the playoff. In my mind, they'd have to win both Georgia and A&M. So I don't know if I would love that price.
Is the A&M in Austin?
It should be. Yeah,
I
it
think it
should be.
is.
I can double check for
I know
you.
Georgia's in Texas. So I think both of those are at home. So gives them a great spot to do that. Obviously, Arch has to continue to play like he has the last week or two.
So
But
Georgia's at Georgia, between the hedges. But the next two games are home. So they have a bye week. They play at Georgia, and then they got Arkansas and Texas A&M at home. But I mean, I think Georgia's gettable, and Georgia right now, they're coming off a cocktail party. They play Mississippi State. If they're not careful, they could drop one there. So Georgia at minus 550. Obviously, no one's going to tell you to play at minus 550. I mean, maybe some people would, but I would not be playing the minus 550. I think Georgia and Oregon, in my opinion, are the ones that people are penciling in that I think have the best chance to not be in. I think Oregon's schedule.
You might get a good number for them to not make the college football playoff.
Yeah, actually, I can look that up. Will Georgia? Yeah, Georgia is plus 400 for no, and Oregon is. Let me see if they have it listed. Come on. Oh yeah, plus 275 for no. Okay. So I might actually take both of those as well, just because I think that Oregon is going to have at least one more loss, and so is Georgia. I mean, a little bit of it's tough because it's like it's not a clear cut formula. But those are the two that I think I will be.
It's a fun exercise.
Yeah, going through. And then my final one, Vanderbilt I talked about. I think Vandy wins out. They lost they're number 15 right now. They lost a tough game. It's a tough environment at Texas, but they've got Auburn. Let's see. Let me go up to their schedule. They got Auburn this week. I get the coach bump, but Auburn doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, literally, they've switched, and obviously the backup scored 3 points against Kentucky. So, and that's at Vanderbilt. So they got Auburn at home, and then I think they're on bye. Yeah, Auburn at home, and then they play at home against Kentucky, and then basically at Tennessee. And I'm someone under the impression that I don't think Tennessee is anything that they can't take care of. So Vandy there is, I think Vandy's price is still at plus 450. So I think there's value there. And then my group of 5 team, the team that's no one's talking about, San Diego State, 13-1. Now, I know what you may be thinking. No one's talking about them. Well, we're going to talk about them this week, and we're going to break them down. But this is a 7-1 team out in the Mountain West that no one wants to give any flowers to. However, they have the number 2 ranked defense in all of college football, only behind Ohio State in points per game. They also are just a fun team. And they have somebody who has an 80-1 ticket for them to make the playoff. Full transparency here, folks. If you were here in our preseason preview where we gave out a bunch of these futures, my one long shot from the group of 5 was actually San Jose State. So I know what you're thinking if you've been riding with us. Like, what the hell is he talking about? So when I went to go put in that bet, I must have been intoxicated and messed up.
Hit the wrong stand.
I have an 80-1 ticket for San Diego State to make the college football playoff. So sometimes it is better to be lucky than right. However, I'm fully going to be pushing this San Diego State propaganda. They are 7-1. They're currently 13-1 on DraftKings to make the college football playoff. Essentially, just got to take care of business and hope the AAC, look, Memphis and Tulane play this week, like USF. They're all going to cannibalize each other, right? Then really James Madison is the one I'm a little bit worried about as well. But if San Jose State, they play Boise State, and then they just beat a good Fresno State team. Like, they dominated them 23-0. We'll talk more about San Diego State, but like, this has become like, oh damn, what a dumb mistake I made. Like, Maybe I might have looked myself into something, but hey, that is our college football playoff top 12. Like, these are our predictions right now this week. We'll do it every week. Following weeks will be a little bit quicker because, we probably won't have massive amounts of change. But we wanted to kind of preview that this week and premiere it because it's time. I mean, it's November. We're a month away from the college football playoff. And it's time. This is the perfect opportunity for you to start getting some value there in the college football playoff market with these numbers still up and still enough time that you can actually get some value with predicting how this is going to play out. And what a fun year to do it, because this year has been absolutely insane. However, time for what you came for. The college football week 11 game picks here, our best bets and picks here. We've got 6 games for you that we're going to break down, and then we're going to do our best bets and get on out of here. First up, we're going back to the weeknight games, and we are talking a little AAC, because this group of 5 slot will get a playoff slot, and these games do very much matter. We've got 6-2 Tulane Green Wave heading to Memphis, Tennessee, to Simons Bank Liberty Stadium to take on the 8-1 number 22 team in all of the country, the Memphis Tigers. You got Tulane catching 6 points, plus 190 on the money line, over under sitting at 55.5. Memphis laying 6 at home, minus 230 on the money line, 64 and clear, 8 p.m. Eastern time kickoff on Friday, November 7th. Where are you going in this battle of some AAC top dogs?
Yeah, I think we have 2 teams here that are vying for that final playoff spot. And I mean, in general, both teams have been playing pretty well, but I think Memphis has been playing better as of late. I mean, we picked Rice this past Friday. Memphis put it on them, 38-14. The week before that, they took down USF 34-31 at home.
Right.
In general, I just think that Memphis has a pretty solid offense as a whole, and I don't necessarily think that I can trust Tulane's defense. It's giving up over 400 yards per game, and their passing game is 102nd in the country right now, where Memphis's offense it hasn't been putting up a ton through the passing game. It's definitely much stronger through the run, but at the same time, I think the Memphis Tigers are going to be able to put up some points against Tulane. Brendan Lewis is going to have himself a little bit of a day and be able to cover this 6-point spread at home.
All right, we are going to start off with disagreeing here, which it's always fun.
Here comes your San Diego State bias.
Oh, no. Maybe that's got a little bit. No, I think 6 is just too many points. I'm going to go with Tulane plus 6 here. I just think it is too many points. I think that, yes, Memphis has looked really good, but I think a lot of it has to do with their schedule. When we look at these 2 teams' schedules, Tulane has played, they're 6-2, so they lost 1 more game, but they've played Northwestern. They beat actually a decent Northwestern team. They've played Duke, a team that just went into Clemson and beat Clemson, right? They've played Ole Miss. They've played East Carolina. They've played UTSA. They've played Army. All of those teams are at least 500 or above. Meanwhile, when we look at Memphis has benefited from playing the bottom of the AAC at this point. They've played Chattanooga, Georgia State. They played Arkansas, who's arguably the worst team in the SEC. That was a nice win, 1-point win at home, but they played FAU, Tulsa. They lost to UAB. They've played Rice. Outside of USF, they really haven't. And Troy's a decent team, but they really haven't played great quality competition. So that USF game as well, they were down 14 points. They needed a 17-0 fourth quarter to be able to win that game in a walk-off field goal. A little bit of some magic there. So I don't think this is a situation where Memphis is going to just be able to walk up and down on Tulane. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shootout. I think the over is a decent play there as well, but I'm going to go with Tulane catching the 6 points. I just think it's too much. And Tulane's in a little bit more of a do or die situation. Memphis.
That's what they said last year when they were, I think, the number 17 ranked team in the country, and Memphis beat them by 12.
Well, Tulane still made the AAC championship where they lost to my Army Black Knights, but still, I mean, look, I think either of these teams are capable of dropping one. I just think that Tulane's a little bit more desperate, already having the 2 losses, and especially, they're going to be a little bit pissed off coming off a loss. They played on Thursday, but Memphis played on Friday, so 1 extra day of rest, right? And both coming from the road. So I think this is going to be a competitive, tight game. I think these 2 teams are 2 of the better teams in the AAC. I just think 6 is too many points. So give me Tulane plus the 6 there. You are on Memphis minus the 6. So starting off the show with the nice disagreements, which last week that worked out better for us. So we'll see where we go. All right, game number 2 here. That's not the graphic. There it is. This is a massive one. This is huge. This has massive implications.
And I fucked up the graphic. BYU's number 8, not number 9. I have 2 number 9 teams there.
Well, whatever. It's all good. No one would have noticed. But yes, thank you for taking accountability here because you are the graphics man. So we've got the 8-0, number 8 team in the country, the BYU Cougars, heading to Lubbock, Texas to take on the 8-1, number 9 team in the country, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. First off, awesome that Texas Tech, like both these teams being in the top 10, nobody had that on their board. At least definitely not the big national media.
Somebody had one of them going to the playoff, but
you did. You were on that. So I'm curious to see where you're going here because you've ridden BYU all season and Tech. So I'm very curious to see where you're going. But you've got BYU catching 10 points. Plus 285 on the money line, over under sitting at 52.5. Texas Tech laying 10 at home, minus 360. This is at Jones A&T Stadium, 68 and 68, excuse me, and partly cloudy, partly sunny. So no issues for the weather there. Obviously in Texas Tech,
right?
Big number for a top 25 game, 12 p.m. kick on the East Coast, so 11 p.m. Central Time, where they're going to be. Where are you going to this one?
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned it's a big number for a couple teams that I consider comparable. Like you said, I've been backing BYU for quite some time. I was backing Texas Tech pretty early, and then they lost to ASU a few weeks ago. Have kind of backed off them a little bit, but they've risen to the challenge a little bit and have come back after that loss and looked pretty good. They beat Oklahoma State 42-0. Trash team, and then they just put it on Kansas State 43-20, especially in the second half. They really dominated the second half of that game, but I still think it's just too many points at the end of the day. I mean, these are 2 pretty solid teams. I do think that Texas Tech ends up winning this one, and while you do your analysis, I'm going to probably punch in a little same game parlay, BYU plus the 10 Texas Tech money line to see what that number looks like, because I do think this is going to end up within that 10-point spread, just because this game is played at Lubbock, and Lubbock, Texas Tech usually rolls at home. Yeah. So give me the BYU Cougars against the spread, but I do think Texas Tech ends up winning outright.
Yeah, you do love riding that middle there.
That's right.
I will also be on BYU. I'm done fading BYU this year. I'm done. I can't do it. I did it against Utah, got embarrassed. I did it against Iowa State, got embarrassed. This team finds ways to win. They're 8-0, and they're a legit 8-0. Like, they've played good competition. They've still got some tough games coming up, and this is one of them. But they've won at Iowa State. They've won at East Carolina. They've won at Arizona. They've beaten winning teams with a winning record in fairly tough road environments. Now, Lubbock is a tough road environment. It is 11 a.m. kick, which helps BYU. There's no more tortillas. They banned their tortillas there, which is a terrible, ruining more traditions of college football, but that's where they're at. So, you're dealing with that. And from the injury front, the quarterback number 2, Will Hammond, who's came in and won the game for them against Utah and has played decently well, because Barry Morton that's his MO. He gets injured all the time. He's already been injured like 3 separate times this season alone. Well, their quarterback, Hammond, is out for the season with an ACL tear. So there's no more. And the QB3, Griffiths or whatever, is like a true freshman, and he looks terrible. So there's no more of that. Well, even if Morton goes out, you have the safety blanket in a guy in Hammond that can come in and fill in admirably. That's gone. You also, BYU's leading running back, LJ Martin, is probable and expected to play in this one coming off the bye. So I believe both these teams are coming off the bye, if I'm correct. Or no, BYU also has a rest advantage. They're coming off the bye. Texas Tech just played at Kansas State, where, yes, they won by 23, but they dressed that game up. If you watched it, it was much closer. Kansas State was right there. And, yeah, Texas Tech, they were very dominant early on. These past 3 weeks, I know they played Oklahoma State, so, yes, okay, everybody looks good against them. But they lost at Arizona State. They were in a little bit of a rock fight with Kansas State. BYU, man, I'm not fading them. 10 points is insane to give this team. They've played in road environments. They're coming off a bye. This team's rolling. They've got number 47 there and Bachmeier, the freshman, running around they just win. Like they just win. And I've seen enough at this point through 8-9 weeks of the college football season where 10 points is a crazy number to give. So I'm fading the money a little bit.
And if anybody else wants to sweat it out with me and try to ride that 10 point number there, plus 230 to have BYU cover the 10, Texas Tech to win.
Godspeed, brother. Godspeed. That's all I'll say there. So we've got game number 3, another one going from the Big 12, massive playoff implications, to the Big 10. Where you've got 7-1, number 6 team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, taking on the 6-2 Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that I think should be ranked and I think will be ranked after this game. You've got Oregon laying 6.5 in beautiful Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa. Over-under sitting at 41.5. Iowa obviously catching 6.5. Iowa's plus 200 on the money line. Oregon is minus 245. It is going to be 47, and they're calling for rain in Kinnick Stadium, who I think favors one team over the other. But where are you going in this one? Oregon laying the 6.5 or Iowa catching 6.5 as a home dog?
Yeah, I mean, Iowa's had 5 home games this season. They've lost one of those to Indiana, and it was a 5-point game. Indiana, I think, pretty much by everybody's standard at this point, is a top 5 team. And they lost by 5 to the number 2 team in the country. You mentioned it earlier. I mean, 7 teams in the past 15, 20 years has gone into Kinnick and lost outright. I do think this one is a close one. I don't know if I would necessarily put Oregon on the money line, but I do think that Iowa is able to keep it close in that home environment. Kinnick is definitely a tough place to play. So give me Iowa and the points at 6.5.
Yeah, I think this is the easiest play on the board. Give me Iowa, 6.5. That Indiana team you talked about is Oregon's only loss. Indiana went into Autzen Stadium all the way across the country, and they beat them by double digits. And they were really leading wire to wire. Whereas if you look at the Indiana-Iowa game, Iowa was up late in the fourth quarter. Their starting quarterback got knocked out of the game, or they probably would have won that game. They just needed to pick up 1 or 2 more first downs, and they probably could have iced that game away. So, hey, I'll give Indiana credit. They won the game. But when you look at Iowa's 2 losses, they played an Iowa State team that was undefeated. Iowa State, they were 5-0 before their 2-star all Big Ten cornerbacks both went out for the season. They've looked like a different team since those 2 injuries on the defense. So they lost by 3 there, and they lost by 5 against Indiana, which I think is a top 3 team in the country. I mean, they've beat down everybody else. Every other team they've won by a double digit. So I think that Kirk Ferentz and then Oregon. Can we talk is Oregon? Who have they beaten? Their best win is either double overtime against Penn State in Happy Valley when everyone thought Penn State was good, clearly not the case, or at Northwestern. That's their best win. So, I mean, I'm not convinced that Oregon having to come across the country to play in one of the toughest environments in the country in the rain is I think this number is crazy to give them 6.5.
And they just played in the rain this past weekend at home against a piss poor Wisconsin team, and they looked pretty ugly. I think they ended up winning by 2 touchdowns, but
Yeah, 14.
it was an ugly game. They did not play well in the rain.
Yeah, you want to know what Iowa did to Wisconsin? At Wisconsin, 37-0.
Yeah.
So I mean, I legitimately think that. I mean, I really do think there's a good chance Iowa's the better football team. So I will gladly take the 6.5 points here with Iowa. Give us both the Hawkeyes there at home in Kinnick, baby. Kinnick is going to show this former Pac-12 team what it really means to play in Kinnick, to play in the Big Ten. I cannot wait for this one. This is probably my favorite game on the slate. But we go right into another massive game. This 3-game stretch is this is college football. This is everything on the line, and this is what we live for. From the Big 12 to the Big 10 to the SEC, we've got the number 3 team in the country, the 8-0 Texas A&M Aggies there, taking on the number 19 team in the country, the 6-2 Missouri Tigers. Texas A&M is laying 7, minus 278 on the money line. The Mizzou at home is catching 7 plus 225. Over-unders in at 48.5. This is on Saturday, November 8th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kick, so 2:30 local time in Columbia, Missouri at Memorial Stadium. It is going to be 62 and partly sunny. Beautiful over here in Missouri. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams are coming off of the bye this past week. Right. And of the past 3 games before the bye, Missouri played Vandy pretty tough on the road, losing by 7. They had a double overtime win against an Auburn team that we discussed earlier is not very good. Right. And then they lost to Alabama at home by 3 points. So they've been playing kind of up and down ball over the last month or so, where Texas A&M has been just putting it on some teams. LSU on the road, they did squeak out a win at Arkansas, which is a tough place to play, and then they beat your Gators down by 17 points. So
been pretty good.
The big thing is, I mean, Texas A&M probably has the probably at least the best win in my opinion in college football. Maybe a couple best wins, but Missouri lost their starting quarterback, Bo Pribula, and he's going to be out this game. So even being at home, give me the Texas A&M Aggies laying the 7 points.
Yeah, I am right there with you. So another agreement there. Texas A&M -7. I do think, I mean, as we talked about, I think this is one of the top 4 teams in the country. Obviously ranked number 3. They're undefeated. They've played. You know, the scary part is this is their 3rd road game. However, they do get a bye week in between. So I think that is nice to break it up. It's not 3 straight. I mean, it's 3 straight, but you get the bye there. And then you got Missouri also coming off a bye, and they're going to need it because, like you mentioned, they're starting quarterback, Bo Pribula, injured his ankle pretty bad. He's going to be out several weeks, if not the rest of the season, against Vandy. I know you got Missouri fans talking about this kid Zollers, the true freshman that came in. If we remember, Mizzou had a quarterback competition between 2 players, Pribula and another guy, and then the other guy got hurt and kind of took himself out of the race. Neither of those was the Zollers kid. So I understand that he came in against Vanderbilt and kind of looked pretty decent there and completed a Hail Mary and really was pretty close to kind of getting that thing tied up. However, I think it's a little bit easier now that they have to prepare. Like, now this is different. Like, you're going up against a Texas A&M team that I think is clearly one of the top 3 best teams in the country.
Really solid defense.
And this is another, they have a really good offensive line, great defensive line that is going to help negate the Missouri running game. And this is another one where I'm asking myself, how good is Missouri? Who have they beaten? Right? Sure. Is their best win is maybe a double overtime game against Auburn, or a game at home against South Carolina, a South Carolina team that's been awful, a 3-6 South Carolina team. You know, like, they've been very fortunate with a very favorable schedule. They've barely hit in the road, and they've barely played tough teams. And the 2 tough teams they played in Vanderbilt and Alabama, they've lost. So I think that, I get it. They lost only by 7 to Vanderbilt and then by 3 to Alabama. But I think that Texas A&M is a whole different monster. And you've got a true freshman quarterback starting in this game. So people can say what they want about Pribula and how they were frustrated and whatever. There's a reason the coaching staff had this kid as QB number 3. on the depth chart to start the year. So I think that we see a true freshman here that's a little bit in over his head against one of the best teams and line play in the country. If you're going to put the game on this kid's arm, good luck. That's all I have to say. So we are both rolling with Texas A&M on the road, laying the 7 there. All right, 2 more games, and we're going to do our best bets and hop on out of here. Game number 5, we're going back to the Big Ten. Not quite a top 25 matchup here, but a game, one team's in the top 25. We've got the 6-2, number 24, Washington Huskies taking on the 2-6 Wisconsin Badgers there. Washington's laying 11.5, minus 108 there. They're minus 455 on the money line. Wisconsin in Camp Randall in Madison, Wisconsin, where it is going to be 41 and raining. They are laying 11.5 plus 350 on the money line. Over understand after 45.5. Where are you going in this game? This is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kick, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So without looking, because I know you usually have some notes pulled up there. The last 2 games that Wisconsin has played at home, how many points have they scored?
Ooh, how many points have they scored at home? Golly.
The last 2 home games.
10 combined, are we talking?
Yes, combined.
Holy shit.
0 points. They have scored 0 points in their last 2 home games. Now, they played OSU and Iowa, but they've put up 0 points in their last 2 home games. This is a home game in Camp Randall, and Washington's offense can put up some points. DeMond Williams is one of the most exciting quarterbacks that you're going to see in college football. They love to run the football, which is perfectly fine in the rain. And Wisconsin, 5 years ago, we would have expected Wisconsin just to run the ball over and over and over again, probably have 50 runs called throughout the game. This offense can't run the ball. They've basically switched over to that spread them out offense. Fickle tried it. It obviously hasn't worked. They're the 120th ranked rushing offense in the country.
Yeah.
Where Washington's offense is putting up over 400 yards per game.
Yeah.
Wisconsin defense giving up 340 yards per game. I think that number is going to go up a little bit this week, even playing in the rain. So give me the Washington Huskies laying the 11.5. It's a pretty big number on the road, but this is played at 4:30. This is not a noon game. I do think that Washington is going to be able to travel a little bit to the, not necessarily East Coast, Middle East, or Midwest, I guess, whatever they call it.
Central time zone.
Central time zone, yeah. And really pretty much put it to the Badgers. We'll see if the head coaching firing continues or if Fickle does have the trust in.
I think he got a letter of support or some shit, right? Yeah. Now this is another one, man. It seems too easy is my biggest concern with this. So I'm also going to take Washington 11.5 because how can you back this Wisconsin team? You mentioned it. I mean, this is a 41 and raining, right? This would be prime Wisconsin football. Leave it up to the Hog Mollies and, Melvin Gordon and Jonathan Taylor and run them to the ground, right? Against a flu Washington offense or Washington team. That's not the case, man. This Washington team has a top 25 rush defense, and you talked about it. Wisconsin has a bottom 25 rush offense. They're a turnover machine. They're a team that's not going to be able to play well in the rain because they don't have a quarterback. And Wisconsin on a 6-game losing streak. They have lost every single game by at least 14 points. Every single game they would have lost by at least 12 or more, which is all they need to do here. Washington's a solid team. I think Jonah Coleman's one of the better running backs in the nation. They're going to smell blood in the water, and they're going to run it up. They know Washington's still alive for the college football playoff. Like, this is with the 12 team, like, they have a chance. They only have 2 losses. They're ranked. They're not going to want to mess around in this one. Man,
I think to your point to your point that it seems too easy. I think part of that's just coming off of Wisconsin's road loss this past week to Oregon by 14 points. Like the rain probably made a difference in that one. Oregon, like you said, we still don't exactly know how good they are.
Right.
We know how good Ohio State is. I think at this point, we know that Iowa it's definitely a tough out and a pretty solid team there in the Big Ten. I think in general, kind of a scary number,
Right.
but I think that's mostly coming off of their close win this
Yeah.
past week.
Where they still wouldn't even covered. I mean, 14 points,
Yeah,
we'd win. So,
exactly.
yeah, I think Washington goes in there, and I just think that the team's laid down, and I think
Yep.
typically in rain is when I want to back a team like Wisconsin, a home dog, but they just can't run, and
Nope.
they're going to turn the ball over, and Washington's going to run down their throat. So, yeah,
Yep.
give us Washington.
Wisconsin has not scored more than 14 points in a game all season, and I think that Washington's going to at least score 24,
Yeah,
28
25,
points.
I guess, or
So
26 I may
yeah,
need. But Wisconsin's in the auto fade bucket. So give us both Washington there. So after disagreeing at first, we are on a lot of agreement. We'll see how we round this one out. This is another group of 5 game. So what we have 3 top 25 matchups, this Wisconsin game, and then 2 group of 5 games. So a very interesting slate that you're
varied
only going to
schedule.
get here
Yeah.
with the D Docs. But hey, it's our 6 best betting angles. So we are
Right.
finishing out with a very nice nightcap. This is Saturday, November the 1st, 11 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff. So absolutely no chance Derek will be awake.
Nope.
We have a 7-1 San Diego State Aztecs team heading to the island to take on the 6-3 Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. You've got San Diego State laying 7, minus 270 on the money line, over under sitting at 50.5. Hawaii +7, plus 220 home dogs. That is 78, partly cloudy there. It is going to be in Honolulu, Hawaii, at Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex.
Yep.
All right. You going home dog, or are you going for those Aztecs to come in and continue their dominance of college football?
Give me the home dog. Give me the Rainbow
Boo.
Warriors in this one. Come on now. This is an 11 o'clock kick. You got to take the Rainbow Warriors. No, I think in general, Hawaii just had a pretty bad loss to San Jose State, who somebody was supposed to be betting on this whole time. But in general, I mean, I think Hawaii's defense is going to be able to slow down San Diego State. I mean, Hawaii's defense is only giving up about 130 yards per game on the ground. San Diego State's rushing offense has looked pretty good, but their passing offense sucks. And I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit against the Rainbow Warriors to make this a game. Hawaii's defense is only giving up about 25 points per game. San Diego State's only scoring about 28 points per game. So it lines up pretty nicely for this Hawaii defense to keep this within the number with this one. I don't necessarily know if I would take Hawaii outright. We'll have to see about that one. But I do think that they're going to at least keep this one close.
Interesting. Absolutely not. You were talking about, Hawaii's only giving up 25 points, yada, yada, yada. Well, the San Diego State Aztecs are only giving up 10 points a game. So if they score 25 and Hawaii only scores 10, that covers. So, look, I think that San Diego State legitimately has one of the best defenses in the country. That's nobody's talking about. Again, number 2 in points per game and number 6 in yards. They have a top 10 pass defense and rush defense, which they'll need because Hawaii has a top 10 pass offense. They love to throw the ball over the yard. Perfect matchup, right? You have Hawaii's strength in trying to throw the ball over the yard. You have a team in San Diego State that creates turnovers and limits big plays. I think that San Diego State is going to be able to suffocate this Hawaii team. They're going to turn them one-dimensional. They're going to be pass. They're going to lead to some turnovers here. And yes, this is typically a 6-hour time difference from the East Coast. However, it is only a 3-hour time difference from these kids in California. So I think they'll be able to deal with it a little bit. Also, common opponent, Hawaii just lost to Fresno State a couple weeks ago on the island. They lost 23-21. San Diego State played at Fresno State. They won 23-0. San Diego State is a team that in their last 4 games, they've won 24-7, 23-0, 45-10, and 45-24. This is a team that has beat Cal. They shut them out. I really think that this defense is on another level. And I think, maybe not in this game because definitely the college football playoff people are not watching it at 11. But I'm hoping they start to get some national recognition because this is a legit team. They are going to win the Mountain West, and be that number 12 spot in the college football playoff. Not taking my other bets too much into account, but I will be going with the Aztecs here, minus the 7. Hawaii is a good story. They've played a pretty decent schedule. I think the party ends here, and I think San Diego State goes and gets it done on the island. All right, that is it for the 6 games. We're going to go to our best bets, my friend. What is your lock for college football week 11? What is your best bet?
BYU. I think BYU keeps it close. I think they're a really good team. I think Texas Tech is better, especially being at home. But I do think BYU is able to keep this within that 10-point spread this Saturday. So give me BYU as my lock.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense for you to continue to ride the BYU wave. You've been on it much earlier than most. I like that as well. I think 10 points is a crazy number. For me, my lock for college football week 11 is Texas A&M laying the 7 at Missouri. I'm not convinced Missouri is a good team. You have a true freshman quarterback going up against one of the better defensive lines in the country. I think they're going to be able to neutralize the run. They're going to put a lot on this kid's arm, and they're going to have some problems. Texas A&M is going to create some turnovers and do what they've done. They've continued to beat everyone they have, usually in dominant fashion. So coming off the bye week, give me the Aggies there to get it done. Who is your money line dog this week?
Give me the Rainbow freaking Warriors, dude. Partially because you took the other team that I was going to lock up, and I don't have any other dogs on this
Okay.
slate.
All right.
So give me the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors to get a massive win against your Aztecs on Saturday morning. Sunday morning.
What? I am extremely happy we're picking this game because I will be
I might have to like set my alarm for like
there's no
2
way you're
in the
staying
morning.
up. There's
no, I'm just gonna set my alarm for like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning and watch the tail end of that
the last
right.
bit.
My luck, I do that and they're losing by like 2 touchdowns.
Well, I will say this. You're either going to be waking up or have woken up to a shit ton of texts from me because my sister will actually be getting married that day. So I will be probably up very late, even though I have an early flight. I can almost guarantee I'll be watching this game. Probably be one of the few ones I get to watch fully. So, this is going to be a fun one for us to be on different sides here. So, You are with the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors there at plus 220. My money line dog of the week, Iowa Hawkeyes plus 200. Kinnick is a place where top 10 teams go to die. Oregon, how good are they? They have a win against Penn State and a win against Northwestern. That is not impressive to me. Common opponent in Indiana. Iowa only lost by 5. Oregon lost by 10 at home. And I think Iowa should have won that game if Gronowski doesn't get injured. Gronowski is 100% ready to roll. So I think that give me the veteran quarterback and give me the better coach in Kirk Ferentz there. I cannot wait for this one. Hawkeyes on the money line at plus 200. All right, what is your tease, and do you have a parlay for us?
I do not have a parlay, but I do have a banger of a teaser. Give me the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors plus 13. Give me Texas A&M minus 1. And give me the Cougs plus 16 of BYU.
Okay. We'll see. We will see. I will be, for my tease, give me Iowa plus 12.5. No way they're losing by that much. Texas A&M minus 1 and Washington minus 5.5. 2 teams take care of business in Texas A&M and Washington, and Iowa to at least keep it close at home. Plus 140 there. And for the parlay, coming off a couple weeks ago, hit a 6-1 banger going back to the well here. Give me BYU and Tulane on the money line at a plus 997, 10-1 there. I think BYU continues just winning. That's all they've done this season. They've figured out ways to get it done, no matter how ugly it looks. I think they do it again. And Tulane shocks Memphis here. I think that they've played a much tougher schedule. They're battle tested. And Memphis just lost to UAB, so they definitely can drop one that we may not think. So both of those there at a nice 10-1. As a recap here for Professor Locks, his lock for college football week 11, BYU plus 10, Hawaii moneyline plus 220, and BYU, Texas A&M, Hawaii in a 6-point tease at plus 140. For myself, the lock is Texas A&M minus 7. The dog, Iowa moneyline plus 200 in Kinnick. And for the tease, Iowa, Texas A&M, and Washington 6-point tees at plus 140. And the parlay, BYU and Tulane on the money line for a nice, juicy 10-1. All right, brother, what do we got before we get on out of here?
Well, we just finished up the college football episode. We have our NFL show tomorrow night. Have been doing pretty well over on the NFL side of things, even though last week, college football wise, we're not going to talk about. But we've been killing it on the NFL side of things. So check that out coming out tomorrow night. You have your injury report coming out Thursday for all of us fantasy nerds, and from the prop side of things, you definitely want to check out your injury report over on IDP Plus.
Yes, we are hitting at an insane 63% in the last 5 weeks there in the NFL for our locks. So you're going to want to get over there and start making money on Saturday and Sunday. And look, folks, one last thing. We are very close to our goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. I think we are narrowing down, under 150 is what we need to get or something like that. So if you enjoyed the show, if you've definitely stuck around at this point, a simple like and subscribe is all we ask for. Hey, chop it up with us in the comments. You guys have been awesome this year in the college football streets. One of the best college football seasons that it's been a while with the parity, the craziness, and we're trying to break it all down for you and pick out your winners. So, hey, if you like the show, drop some love there. That's all we ask. But you know what they say, folks. A lock a day keeps the bookie away. And here at the Degen Docs, we've got your prescription. From Professor Locks and Doc here on DFSG Plus, we are out of here.